So back in 2015, there was this really big announcement that one of my favorite book series of all time, a series that was heralded as the next Game of Thrones, the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, was set to receive an on-screen adaptation in the form of a show and a movie. However, it's been almost 10 years since that announcement, and at the time of recording in 2024, it seems like basically no progress at all has been made on this project, and if anything, the Name of the Wind show and movie might completely be dead in the water. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to Finn Films. Join me today as I discuss what happened to the Name of the Wind show. So the Kingkiller Chronicles is a fantasy book series written by author Patrick Rothfuss, the book series debuting in March 2007 to great acclaim with its first book in the trilogy Name of the Wind. 4 years later, Rothfuss would release the second book in the series, The Wise Man's Fear, George R.R. Martin, the author of Game of Thrones, hailing the book as his favorite fantasy novel of 2011. Many other fantasy fans as a whole declaring that this series was the next Game of Thrones. As well, it received a ton of other plaudits from many other high-profile writers, such as the GOAT of the fantasy genre, Brandon Sanderson, as well as the creator of the Broadway musical Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who credited the book series for inspiring songs in Hamilton. The Kingkiller Chronicles is a story of fantasy, mystery, and tragedy. The series telling the story of Quoth, a bard and arcanist who became known in his youth as the infamous King Killer. Yes, I'm pretty sure it is pronounced Quoth, even though this is very hotly debated, but I'm sure people have already written in the comment section down below how I'm pronouncing it wrong. The book series using one of my favorite story formats, a story within a story, similar to works like Arabian Nights, where the story is divided into present and past, our main character Quoth telling the story of his youth and what made him this infamous King Killer to a scribe that is referred to as chronicler. The Kingkiller Chronicles are like if you took all of my favorite elements of fantasy and then combine them together. It has a grand, fleshed out fantasy world like Tolkien's work, combined with a sense of like real hard-hitting reality like Game of Thrones, the works of George R. Martin. As well, it has kind of a sprinkling of Wizard University that invokes many of like the same feelings I got reading Harry Potter as a child, and you tie it all up together with Rothfuss's like absolutely beautiful, evocative writing style that really draws like so much emotion from the reader, and I really think that it can only be described as beautiful. Hey, let me just read you like a few sentences from like the prologue of Name of the Wind so like you can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. The man had true red hair, red as flames. His eyes were dark in distance, and he moved with the subtle certainty that comes from knowing many things. The Waystone was his, just as the third silence was his. This was appropriate, as it was the greatest silence of the three, wrapping the others inside itself. It was as deep and wide as autumn's ending. It was as heavy as a great river, smooth stone. It was the patient cut flower, the sound of a man who is waiting to die. Fucking chills, bro. The book series, though, is still an unfinished trilogy, as Rothfuss has decided to do his best George R. Martin impression, as the third book in the series, Doors of Stone, has been perpetually delayed at the time of recording, so there's no knowing when this book will ever be released. However, don't get it twisted, though, this series is like easily one of my favorite book series of all time, and I highly recommend this series to literally every person that I meet that I know is into books. Every person that I've ever recommended this series to or given one of my many copies of these books has only told me that they've loved it. So you should go and read it if you haven't already. So then, as a massive fan of Patrick Rothfuss and his book series, you can imagine my elation when in 2015 it was announced that the Kingkiller Chronicles and the Name of the Wind book were coming to the big screen. Rothfuss in 2015 striking a deal with the production company Lionsgate with a TV show, a movie deal, as well as a potential video game in the works to top it all off. Things were going smashing for Rothfuss & Co., Lionsgate making a deal with Showtime to air the potential TV series. However, though, it's been almost 10 years since this news back in 2015, and we've had none of these three things. So, what the f*** happened? Well, if we take a little look at the Wikipedia page, it says this. In July 2013, 20th Century Fox optioned the Kingkiller Chronicles for a TV series. 2 years later, in October, the rights to the book expired and were reverted to Rothfuss. At the same time, Rothfuss announced that Lionsgate would be involved in adapting the series through a film, TV series, and video game. Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda was attached to serve as executive producer of the series, along with John Rogers, Jennifer Court, Robert Lawrence, and Rothfuss, with music composed by Miranda. Showtime began developing the series as of October 2017, but ended their involvement 2 years later in September, causing the series to return to Lionsgate TV, which is now shopping it around. In this Forbes article from 2015, the author of said article speculates that the series would do better in a long-form, high-budget TV show format similar to Game of Thrones, rather than in a movie format like Lord of the Rings, which is something that I would probably agree with. There's loads and loads of mystery and backstory that's truly fascinating. I can see this luring viewers from outside of fantasy in, especially with a TV show. Like Rothfuss, I'm less confident in a movie simply because there's too much content here to do it justice. As we read in the wiki, 2 years later in 2017, it was announced that Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who created Hamilton, was going to serve as executive producer of the show and be in charge of composing the music, as music plays a very essential part of the Kingkiller Chronicles story. Quoth being born into a traveling troupe of performers and as a child possessing a great talent for music, again, music playing an extremely important role in the story. And to me, the description of said music is one integral part of what makes Patrick Rothfuss's writing so absolutely beautiful to read. However, to a lot of the fanbase's surprise though, it was announced that the 10-episode TV series with Showtime wasn't going to be a direct adaptation of either of the two books, but a prequel series following two traveling musicians. Many people in the fanbase speculating and theorizing that the show would be about Quoth's parents and be set up and be kind of a setup for the movie adaptation of The Name of the Wind. So at this point in like 2017, 2018, it seems like things were really going well for this potential show and movie. The hype was absolutely real. The fans were super thirsty for this content. As well, they had a great team seemingly working on this show and this movie, and it seemed like they really wanted to do the story justice. In 2018, it was announced that director Sam Raimi of Spider-Man fame was brought on board the project to direct the Name of the Wind movie adaptation. So then, what the hell happened to this project? Well, from a number of sources, it seems like the development and adaptation process for both the show and the movie hasn't gone smoothly at all. In an AMA on Reddit in 2019, Lin-Manuel Miranda said this: "The honest answer, we just haven't cracked it yet. As you know, it's an incredibly rich story and complex world. When we crack it, there'll be news, but not before it's absolutely right. Working with Pat has been a total joy." Fortunately, though, it seems like these snags in the adaptation process caused Showtime to get cold feet, and they ended up passing on the show in late 2019. As of late 2019, I should say, Lionsgate was once again shopping around the project to other streaming companies out there. And at the time of recording, I don't think any other streaming company has officially taken up this project yet. Things went quiet about the Kingkiller on-screen adaptation until 2022, when it was announced that Lin-Manuel Miranda would no longer be working on the show. Miranda saying this: "It's an incredible book in an incredible series, and Patrick Rothfuss is just like a once-in-a-lifetime talent. We never cracked it though, and I don't know where it is, but my time on it kinda ran out, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I couldn't get you any closer and help you figure out how this insane Russian nesting doll structure of a book becomes a movie or a TV show. But yeah, I'm not on that anymore." This news kind of really coming as a major blow for fans of this series. Again, the music in this story is like extremely important, and Miranda seemed like a really good fit to bring the music to life on screen. As well, it just seemed like another just major blow for this TV series, as they now lost their one of their executive producers, as well as the person that was supposed to be composing the music. So at this point, it seemed like yeah, this show was just never going to happen. And really, at the time of recording in 2024, this is like the last concrete news that we've really heard about the Name of the Wind on-screen adaptation. Adapting like any work of writing to the big screen is like a really difficult and arduous process. How do you adapt a fantasy story that's like over 700 pages long into a movie that's less than 3 hours long in length? And how do you do that in a way that doesn't absolutely ruin the original source material? To me, a TV series series adaptation, similar to like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, seems to be like the best option, as it really allows the team to really delve deeper into like the world, the characters, and the story itself without having to cut out large sections of the book or like having to worry as much about like pacing issues. It's extremely possible that this series like won't see an on-screen adaptation until Rothfuss actually finishes the book series, finishes the last book in the trilogy, something that we've been waiting since 2011 for. Rothfuss being very open in the media and on his own live stream on his Twitch channel, apologizing to his fans about the delay in the release, citing personal issues as well as mental health struggles. We hope you're doing well, Patrick. Though I have to say, in the last year, it does seem like he has made some progress on this book. In a few live streams, we have seen Patrick doing a few like teaser reading of sample pages from Doors of Stone, though who actually knows when this final book will be eventually completed and published.
Way back, and this was during the charity, and I said, hey, I'm going to read the prologue, and like 12,000 people showed up to watch the stream. And I said, this is so nice to see all of these people showing up and being excited and happy and donating to charity, and they still want the prologue. And I know it's been so long, and I know a lot of people are irritated, but I'm like, guess what? You can't be more irritated about not finishing this thing than me or my publisher. You got, at best, you're third in line.
A lot of fans have speculated that a possible animated series might be the way to go for adapting a work like Name of the Wind, as in 2019, a fan-made animation that went absolutely viral on YouTube.
Give it back or I will kill you. Some people have no sense of humor. Catch.
Personally, I think that either a long-running show format, as I said, similar to Game of Thrones, or an animated series would be the way to go for adapting a story like the Kingkiller Chronicles onto the screen, as I think both would allow the story to be more fully fleshed out and to give the story, the show, that room to breathe. And as well, they would be actually okay on giving it the runtime that it needs to really make an adaptation of this book series like do it justice. As I can't even imagine trying to cram a story like Name of the Wind into like a 2-hour movie. It just wouldn't work in my opinion. As well, an animated series is just relatively easier to make, especially when you compare it to a live action performance, as anything is possible in the medium of animation. And as we've seen with works like Blue Eye Samurai, The Legend of Vox Machina, and Arcane, it's very easy to capture like these like wonderful, fantastical worlds into the animated screen, while also still holding that more serious and somber tone, like a more adult story, like Name of the Wind is. However, though, it does seem like any ideas or hopes of a Name of the Wind animated series are like just that. They are hopes, and they are basically just like fan hopes at this point in time. Though I guess anything is possible. At the time of recording, it seems like any plans for a Name of the Wind like on-screen adaptation are basically dead in the water. Not to say that we will never get a Name of the Wind adaptation, whether in a show, a movie, or an animated series, or even a video game. I have a feeling that these will happen. One of these things will happen at some point in time. The fan base is just too large, as well as they're way too hungry for it, and the story itself is amazing, and in my opinion, very much deserves an on-screen adaptation. The question is really just when. At the end of the day, that question won't be answered until they can crack this adaptation of the book series into a show or a movie. And I have a feeling that production on this project won't really officially start until the release of the final book in the trilogy, Doors of Stone, and that could be years away. All that being said, I'd be pretty shocked if we saw the production of a Name of the Wind show or movie start within the next 5 years. And to be fair, George R. R. Martin published Game of Thrones in like 1996, and season 1 of the HBO series didn't air until like 2011, so there was a lot of time for them to eventually crack this adaptation for a work like Game of Thrones. These things just take a lot of time, and Patrick Rothfuss is obviously very protective of his work, of his book series, and he wants to do it justice, but I would, again, be genuinely surprised if a show or movie started production on something like this before Patrick Rothfuss had ultimately finished the book series. All that being said, I still absolutely love this book series, and I love Patrick Rothfuss as a person, as he seems like an absolute gem. If somehow you've gotten this far in this video and you haven't read these books, I highly, highly, highly recommend them. They are not only one of my favorite fantasy book series, they're just one of my favorite book series, like a full stop, and it was up to me, these books would be required reading for kids in schools nowadays. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video or learn something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to help support me, and your engagement on this video really does help in putting this video into the algorithm. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, adu.